Seyi, thank you for joining us. We are so proud that in just a few weeks, you're going to be an alum. You're going to be a formal Matador.
Wow.
With a degree and everything.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm a returning student, so I've been here twice now. So my parents came here from Nigeria. Education is incredibly important to them. We didn't always have all of the financial and economic resources that we needed to have a life that sort of reflected their values and their desires for us to have safety at home. But they did an amazing job, and I made it to CSUN.
The first time when?
The first time, yeah. That was 2002.
Okay.
Yeah. We were pretty transient. We moved around a lot. And so there was a variety of reasons for that. Some were financial, some were, race-related, some were just because we needed to figure out how to make do. And so I never really had a chance to sort of establish home. And I got to CSUN, and I found a sense of home, and that was really... It was really amazing.
Can I ask what led you to leave us for a little bit?
Oh, wow. It's very complicated, but I think if I were to sort of simplify it, it was a combination of two crises. One was financial. My family needed help.
Choices had to be made. Hard
choices had to be made, and I decided to choose that. Additionally, I was struggling with vocational, aspirations. At that time, I was planning on being a lawyer and going to law school, and I was studying for the LSAT and all of that stuff and preparing for law school, admissions. But yeah, I realized that I didn't necessarily want to do that, though I still have a love for the law and still had a desire in that way. It just wasn't sort of exactly right for me. And so I got to have up close interaction with the profession and sort of what it meant. And yeah, I think I ran into that kind of crisis as well. And so that led me to wander for many years, professionally and vocationally. So I'm an artist, and it took me a long time to be able to even say it that way. As an artist, I work in a lot of different spaces. I would consider myself a documentary artist and filmmaker. And so I tell stories about people and communities, and I love that I get to do that.
How did you end up as a storyteller? Because the world needs storytellers. I'm sorry. I'm a huge believer in storytellers.
It's an important role to play. We all have a relationship to story and narrative. And I consider it to be the universal language. And I wanted to be a writer. And so even sort of referencing back to when I was having that crisis vocationally, professionally, back when I was at CSUN, I wanted to be a storyteller, and I struggled with that. I mean, I even sort of had planned to, be a writer. I was going to major in English before I entered CSUN, and it was going to be creative writing. And I wrote short stories throughout my childhood. And so that sort of desire for storytelling had always been there. And, we decided on more practical pursuits, right? Like being a lawyer, for example.
So that's a poli-sci major?
That's a poli-sci major, right. And so...
do you think that poli-sci perspective, which asks you, it's almost anthropological in a strange way, but asks you to see things in different perspectives and understanding context and all that, it's that experience that helps inform your art, your perspective as an artist, as a storyteller, a professional storyteller?
Yeah, I think so. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think there's a desire to understand how people and groups of people and systems all interact and intersect. And so exploring power and exploring the idea of displacement, which I think is something that I think people think very specifically about often, and it often does represent displacement specifically, whether that's through war, whether that's through economic inequality, whether that's through a fire, like what's happened in Altadena. But that displacement, I think, is a story of humanity, and it expands beyond sort of those those hardcore ideas. I think displacement also represents the way our spaces are sort of controlled, managed, and policed, and how we get to exist in the world, where we get to exist, who we get to be with. And so I think that all connects together. And I think political science as a major, as a sort of a discipline for me early on, it was essential for me to even sort of be thinking about and doing the things that I'm doing now for work. So yeah, definitely.
Can I ask the nonprofit you work for?
Yeah, I work for the Center for Restorative Justice. And it's a Pasadena-based organization.
Yes.
And yeah.
I'm actually very familiar with it.
Oh, amazing. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, it's amazing to be there.
How did you end up there?
The center started back in 2016. There were some very high-profile murders, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, those two specifically, but so many others, as we know. And there was an event held called the Night of Lament. It was in connection with the church in the area as well. And so a lot of people came together to just sort of like reflect on this moment and what it meant, in terms of the future and sort of our past and history. And that organization started holding workshops to educate people around racial injustice, to give people sort of tools to engage with each other and be in community around trying to solve these problems. And so that began the center's journey, and I got to attend one of their workshops initially. Very soon after that, I would take photos for them. And so at that time, I was already, a photographer. And then they started designing pilgrimages, and these are racial justice pilgrimages. So what will happen is they'll take a group of people to the American South, to sites of import in our historical sort of legacy in this country. And we'll travel to various cities, pilgrimage sites, and we will travel by bus, and those folks will get to talk on that bus ride. And they'll unpack and process. And at every site, we engage with a storyteller from the community who will tell us about either their experience or what this spatial sort of reality meant in terms of their lives and the history of the folks who inhabited it. And it's a really incredible transformational journey. And I got to go on that journey. And the first time I went, I was also asked to make photos. And so I made photos on that trip in 2017, and I've been doing that ever since. And so now I'm on staff formally at the center, and and it's a part of what I do as an artist and storyteller and an archivist. So,
how did you end up back at CSUN?
I'd been planning on coming back for a really long time, and I had a desire to do Africana studies, right? And so I think I wanted to finish both, right? Both poli-sci, and I had done a lot of coursework in poli-sci. I mean, I stopped so close to the goal, and same thing with Pan-African Studies. I was sort of on track to minor formally, but I thought I would double major at the same time when I was back at CSUN at that time, and then I stopped, and then I came back. And
when did you come back?
Came back in 2024, last year. Yeah. So.
And just threw yourself into it?
Yep, completely. I have a full-time job. I have a art practice. All of these things were happening. All of the things that are happening in our world were happening.
Yeah.
And I decided to go back to school and finish the journey and also reconnect with ideas and research and concepts that I think I could bring into my work at the center. So, are
you getting an Africana and poli-sci, or
just Africana now?
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I hope to finish up the poli-sci at some point in the future.
You come back again and get those last few classes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How you chose then to focus on Africana studies? Why, and how is that related to or influencing your work?
Yeah. I think how history is narrated. And college, is different. You get to choose things. You get to design for the first time as a college student. You are in control of your coursework, your journey. And I was always interested in history. I was always interested in people and how we got here and how we interact with each other. So that was there. But CSUN allowed me to really cook in terms of how I would put that historical sort of understanding together. And I did that. And I chose a lot of, at the time they were called Pan-African Studies classes. It wasn't Africana Studies. And so, I chose a lot of those classes because I was allowed at CSUN to take those classes and root that sort of understanding in the Black perspective of history. And so that became something really important to me. And so I continue to do that throughout my journey.
What were some of the favorite topics? I mean, we're literally going back years.
Yeah.
But what are the favorite topics or courses or ideas that you explored while you were here?
I was interested in so much. I think
college is such
college
a great
is a crazy place. Yeah, 100%. I would say like the two that I come to mind are I found myself very interested in, I don't know, maybe this is not a sort of clinical term, but like cultural studies. So I was interested in cinema. I was interested in art. I was interested in writing and literature and how those things intersected with our historical and political realities and how people sort of articulated the experience of being Black and being in a Black body in this country, in this space. And so very interested and very fascinated with that. I also became very, very interested in voting rights in college. I was in all kinds of organizations, too many, honestly, and that's probably why I had to take a long break. But what
kind of organizations?
I was in the African Student Organization. I was the president of the NAACP. I was in the BSU. At the time, we had an organization called the Black Business Association.
I remember that.
Oh wow, yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's just some. I mean, I was RA. I did. I was
breathe?
I was doing too much. I was doing too much for sure. And so, it was through those experiences and through sort of being in community that, again, I found home. And I felt like I wanted to make this, I wanted to participate in making this a safe space for Black students. And so, I think those kind of things I could bring into sort of the clubs and organizations that I was participating in. And then even sort of registering students to vote. And I think engaging in the ways that our sort of democratic systems either functioned or dysfunctioned and were inconsistent with the way that we claim that
our mythology.
Yes, our political mythologies. Yeah. And I became very interested in that.
It sounds like those experiences both in the classroom and as a student helped shape that time you weren't here.
Sure. Yeah.
What was it like to come back last year?
It was so strange. Yeah.
In about 20 years.
Yeah, like 16, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like being away for a really long time and then coming back to a place that you knew so well and it had changed completely. And I think so many people have that experience of sort of coming back home or visiting an old high school or visiting a house you used to live in where other people live in now. And it was definitely like that. It was
it's
bizarre.
All of that. This was your home. This was your school place.
I lived here.
Was your home.
I lived here. Yeah, truly. In all the ways that living somewhere sort of represents, I lived here. Yeah.
You're not 18.
No. Yeah.
But when we go home again and we're 40, it can't be the same place.
It can't. Yeah. But I did come back here to get something that I didn't get when I was last home.
And what'd you get?
I got some clarity. I got some clarity on the next stage of the journey that I'm on, for sure. In this return, for sure. Yeah.
Can I ask what that clarity was?
I think one of the things that I've always been challenged and frustrated by, even in my own sort of mind and experiences, is I have a lot of interests. I have a lot of things that I like to think about and do and look at. I love water. I have multiple projects that are about water and being in water, underwater. I love research. I love cinema. I love art. And all these things have always felt so unconnected and so disparate and just sort of like, oh man, sort of unfocused.
But you're fighting from...
Yeah, for sure. And that experience has allowed me sort of to connect all of those interests in a really powerful way. And I've had a breakthrough for sure. And I understand the work that I do at the center and the art that I make and the people that I want to archive and tell the stories of and preserve, and my interests in all of these other areas. They're all connected, and I'm able to articulate that connection now, and it feels amazing. So to be able to connect all of those things that always felt so all over the place. The process of synthesizing life experiences, the journey you've been on, the history that came before you, the spaces that you inhabited and moved through, the changes you made to that space just by being there or by actively participating in change. All of that is obviously connected to your present and will be connected to your future. But the process by which we synthesize that is narrative. It is story. And the ability to narrate is human. And I think we can decide to narrate truth and beauty and love and hard things and repair and transformative justice, or we can narrate mythology and self-serving ideas that don't sort of serve community. And I think that's always the choice before us. And I know that is the art making, and I'm always excited to go on the journey. It starts at different places often, but the ability to tell a story through people's experiences that mirrors your own, or make images about something that is incredibly important. I get to do that. I get to do that for a living. And I didn't see that connection when I was first here before, but that's where I am, and I'm grateful for where I've been. So,
Yemi Seyi, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on your culmination.
Thank you.